George. Good
Hey
morning.
Adam, how are
Hey,
you doing?
I'm good. I
Good.
am really good. I want to start out and mention to you. Have you ever done a fast? Have you ever?
I've done a 36-hour fast at most, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm I'm 2/3 of the way to a 72-hour fast right now.
Whoa,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Um,
How you feel?
Really good. I mean, there's still like, and some people I know can't do it. So
Yeah.
this is, my disclaimer of, get your own advice. But
Yeah.
I tend to do okay with not, you know, eating, all the time. So when I initially started out, I was like, oh, I'm going to go 5 days. And I'd heard this enough over the years. And so like, I thought, okay, well, I'll do five. But then I started thinking about it sort of in like a little bit more safe terms. I'm like, hey man, you've not done this before.
Yeah.
My wife was a little concerned as well, which I totally understand. Easter's coming up. You're going to need to be eating. So, you need to kind of, so I thought, all right, well, I'll do it at 3 days. So 3 days will conclude in like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 hours.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I will say it has been extremely, I'm going to say enjoyable, honestly, to just sort of set food to the side. The reasons that I did it are
Mhm.
sort of a body reset for me. I don't know if it necessarily, if I totally believe all the things that it could do, but for
Mhm.
me, I will say I feel really good. Um, I
Yeah,
kind of,
I'll echo that. When I did the 36 hours, I felt lighter, faster, more
yeah.
clarity, even just for that short time.
Yeah, I agree. And around the 48-hour mark, I will say, now I read it as well, so maybe it's just me thinking about it, but
Yeah.
I believe it
You're
that the
making it happen.
clarity, right, but the mental clarity actually got better. The first couple days, I kind of felt like I was talking a little slower because I just felt a little bit off, so I was kind of speaking a little slower, sort of taking my time, which I actually thought was good, especially for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, it feels good. Like I'm definitely going to just conclude it at the this evening. But I definitely feel like I could go 5 days, maybe next time that I do it. I don't know how often people do it, but for me, I kind of feel like this felt really good.
That's good.
It kind of felt like a natural progression for me too, because I think I mentioned to you, but I've stopped drinking alcohol a couple months ago. I
Mhm.
just didn't want to make the time for it anymore, and I really enjoyed it. Too
Yeah.
much, I will say, but I just
Yeah.
it was time for it to leave me, and it was good. And then a couple weeks ago, I stopped drinking coffee, which was pretty much the same, I guess. It was just sort of
Yeah.
like I don't really feel like I've got a benefit from it. I'm not knocking anyone who drinks
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
I drank it for a long time. I just sort of was like, I think I'm going to just let it go. And my energy level actually felt like, if anything, it was better or at least the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah.
The habit of like getting up in the morning and having a nice warm cup of coffee, I get it. That's something that you miss, but I'm I'm good with that.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, some days I can take it or leave it. I've gone stretches of time without coffee, long
Right.
stretches of having coffee. It could be irrelevant to me,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
infrastructure that goes with it.
I feel the same way. So yeah, fasting just felt like for me it was kind of just a normal. All right, well, why don't I try this? But yeah, I have felt really good.
Yeah.
So I'll have to, of course, research for myself, and everyone else should too. But maybe people who watch this, they know all about fasting much more than I do. How often to do it? I'd like to try to make it a habit for me, maybe once a month or something like that, just sort of
Mhm.
like a month reset. I
Yeah.
think it, I think it can do things with like insulin levels and other things like that. I don't know any of that, but I will say
Yeah.
just how I feel, it feels really good, and it,
That's a
it's
true indicator, I think. It doesn't matter what people say it does. I've read a lot, seen a lot, and I don't know what it really does or not.
right.
But if you feel good, I felt good.
I feel good, and then the only thing I guess with 3 days, you should I think they call it refeeding. That you
Mhm.
should like kind of ease back in.
Yes,
So
yeah. I was going to tell you that.
yeah, so for me, what that means is tonight at, I don't know, 7 p.m. when it's technically 72 hours, I'll eat a half a banana, or a banana or something like that,
Yeah.
and maybe a couple hours later, I might have a couple spoonfuls of something, granola or
Yeah.
something. I just don't want to spike my blood sugar and all that stuff too much. And then tomorrow, I don't tend to eat a lot, huge meals anyway. Then tomorrow, I think you can kind of do some regular, things, proteins and stuff like that. And then day 3 is well into it. So
Yeah. I've been thinking
is
about doing another one. I, I feel like it's probably time. I put on a few little pounds here and there, and I feel a little bit sluggish. So it's probably time for me to do another one.
yeah,
It probably is a good idea once a month to do it.
yeah. Is there anything else you would think to suggest on the refeeding part, or did
On the
what I
refeeding
mentioned?
part, so I don't know how you operate, but if I eat maybe like after 6, like if I eat after 6, my I start getting more to a point where it's harder for me to sleep at night,
Oh, okay.
and I feel sluggish and yucky when I wake up the next day. So when you told me that your window to start eating getting to 7 p.m., I was like, well, at that point, I'd rather just either break it earlier, like a few hours earlier for me.
Right.
Like I'd break it probably at 4, and then just then I'd be fine. Have like a mini meal and then just be done.
I
But I don't know how your body operates and how you operate. So if you're fine with eating at 7 and breaking it, then yeah. For me, also a banana, it wouldn't help me on the refeeding because the banana would just make me feel. I feel like when I eat a banana, it like opens me up my stomach more. Like it's like, hey,
hmm.
you need to put more food in. Like it makes me hungrier almost.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't. I
Yeah,
don't know if I've had that, but yeah. So I'll explain that. So 7 was just, so Monday night I just decided this. I'd had dinner, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden I'm like, I think I'm going to fast, which is odd, but I just went
hmm,
with it. But tonight, so I won't eat dinner.
hmm.
But my son has a baseball game, so I'm thinking, okay, well, it's right at 6 or 7 anyway. So I'll just
Oh
think, okay,
yeah,
well, I'm going to be walking around and doing something. I'll
hmm.
bring some water. I'll eat that banana.
That's
Um,
right.
I don't even know if I anticipate that I'll eat anything when we get back home.
Yeah, yeah,
It may just be tomorrow. So I agree with you. I don't tend to get too like, I'll eat probably more than I would like to at night, but I don't tend to have issues sleeping or
yeah,
things like that with it. So anyway,
yeah.
one observation, and we can jump onto a different topic then. One observation I did really enjoy having during the fast, aside from like when you go from being hungry and thinking about food to then turning around and having really good mental clarity, and like it was I don't know, it's just been a really enjoyable experience. But aside from that, I've realized how much time I, as a human, think about my next meal. Thinking about like,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, like I had to go. One of my, I had a tire that had a nail in it, and thankfully it was still held air, so I needed to go get that changed this morning, fixed. And I thought my normal pattern of like, oh, well, I'm going here. I can go to this restaurant to get something for breakfast. And then I was like, you're not, you're fasting.
Yeah.
And I started to think just about, well, how much do I like dictate my life based on,
I'm sure if we kept
the,
journals on what we're thinking about food and then planning and everything, like it would probably be ridiculous. But I
yeah,
notice, and I'll say, when my wife goes out of town by herself, like to go visit family or whatever, sometimes, and I'll say I'm living singly, like a single bachelor at home. Like
right,
as far as it pertains to food, I don't eat as much. Like I'll eat less, and maybe I don't even pay attention to eating.
right.
It's a little bit weird. And I mean, she'll support me doing my fast and stuff. It's just I'm the main cook and baker because I love doing that. I like to create recipes and do all kinds of stuff. So if I'm not cooking, then she's kind of
Right.
in a bind because I mean, she'll cook,
Yeah,
but she just enjoys my food more. So,
I gotcha.
and of course, it's better if someone's making good food and you don't have to cook it. So,
Well, right, right.
yeah,
So you decide then if she's not there, you don't really cook for yourself, and you like
yeah,
cooking for,
I don't usually. I just pick on the leftovers and
right.
yeah, while she's away.
Yeah, I am not the resident cook in the
Mhm.
household. That
Yeah,
my wife has all that on lock. She's amazing at
yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Um, but and also, I guess, I think people are wired one of two ways, which is okay either way. I
Mhm.
think you either live to eat, you enjoy it a lot, or
Yeah.
you eat to live. You're eating it as fuel, and you kind of look at it at that. I tend to be the latter of that. I
Mhm.
just, I eat for fuel, but that doesn't mean I don't like, a great meal. I just tend to stick. Maybe it's a guy thing. I tend to stick to
Yeah.
like a couple basic meals that I really
Mhm.
like, and I'm good.
Yeah,
But
I enjoy cooking. I enjoy eating, but also I've always told people over the years that I'm looking forward to the day that there's just the like little Jetsons pill or whatever you can pop once a
right,
day or once a week, and that's all you need. Like you don't need
yeah,
to cook, you don't need to clean, you don't need to do everything that's involved with. Because people, I don't know that they really realize what all is involved with cooking. And I mean, I love food. I love cooking. I love eating tasty things. But it does take up a huge portion of our day and life and
yeah.
finances and everything. I mean,
It it does, and I will say I will really look forward to 5D when I
yeah,
think food is more of an option.
yes,
You don't
that's
necessarily.
what I'm looking forward to. And it's funny that someone said that that was going to be the way it works because, like I said, I mean, I love eating, but I could also just do it because I want to, not because I have
Right.
to every day.
Well, I think maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought what I had understood is that because of the vibrations you're moving forward to at 5D, not only do you not need food, I think that might actually not harmonize you as well with it. Like it's not even that you don't need it. It actually probably kind of keeps you a little bit lower, which maybe is part of the fasting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll put a bow on it to say I've really enjoyed these past 3 days.
Mhm.
And having food out of it. Not that I won't go back and enjoy meals and everything, but um, it felt really, really good. I'm glad that I did it. So
Yeah.
for anyone who's maybe considering it, do your own research, decide what you want to do. But it sounds like you, George, feel the same way. But I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to start doing it once a month or
Yeah.
thereabouts. I think, and maybe I think I might try 5 days, but I do want to see what the refeeding part is because I think once you get to that level of 5 days, I
Mhm.
think there's a more involved re-entry plan, I
Mhm.
think. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you for letting me share that. Hey,
Yeah.
what other topics did you want to cover today?
Well, actually, I want to touch on the alcohol thing.
Yeah.
I don't drink really, but once in the blue moon, socially or whatever. But one thing that's funny is my parents just went to Mexico, and one of my dad's aunts, I guess she's in her 90s or whatever, and she
Yeah.
had just gone to the doctor, and the doctor was amazed at how young she looked and was wondering what she was doing to take care of herself. And he had asked her also if she drank alcohol, and she was reluctant to say yes. And like her daughter was there and was like, she's like, yeah, I have a drink every now and again. And she was like, no, mom, come on, be honest. She has
Right.
2 drinks a day. And then the
Yeah.
doctor's like, really? What do you have? What do you drink? And she said, I have whiskey. And he was like, oh my gosh, like you've unlocked the secret. Like you just keep doing what you're doing. Like
Right.
that's working. And it's funny because I had seen on the subject of parasites, which we know parasites are really probably the root of all our problems.
Right.
I've seen that whiskey actually kills parasites on contact. So like it's just they start swimming in it and it kills them.
That just
So
kills them.
I can't help but wonder that that's why for her at least in the way her body operates and how she's living, right? What she's I guess creating in her life is that the whiskey does help her and truly she looks young compared to other 90-year-olds. And the funny thing is too, like one of her daughters looks almost older than her,
Oh
so,
wow.
yeah, about the same age or older. So it's so weird.
I don't know. I mean, it could be that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't put it, past it. I'd say for someone like that who's if they're drinking, 2 whatevers a day, whether it's alcohol or something else.
Mhm.
If you're doing that for like a regimen,
Yeah.
I think it totally makes sense. For
Yeah.
me, I just was enjoying too much of it, and it was
Yeah.
just, yeah, it just, and it was, I just didn't want to make the time anymore because of the other things, including this, George, that what you and I are doing, like that
Mhm.
just, it just took precedence. It wasn't like I felt like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, I need to get my life straight and this is, going to
Yeah.
end my marriage and stuff. But it certainly has helped all the other
Mhm.
elements by getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Um, But the whiskey thing is great. I've heard even the same thing just about turning back the clock.
Yeah.
Not so much about parasites, but like fasting or even
Hmm.
just having more positive love for other people and for yourself, that
Right.
can help too. Um, I'm open to all kinds of things. If it's whiskey, great. I mean, bottoms up.
Yeah.
So she really didn't want to admit then with her daughter there that
Yeah. That's right.
well, that's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
But then that reminds me too about truth, right? So here she's not wanting to reveal something because she's worried about how she's going to be looked at, but yet
Well,
it
right.
probably is doing her well. And now the truth came out all in
Right.
one sitting, right? So it's like just funny.
Yeah. The judgment there shouldn't be very harsh anyhow.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, do you remember George Burns? Do you remember
Yeah.
George Burns?
Yeah.
I feel
Man,
like
that's a name I haven't heard in a very long time, or I have not seen him either.
well, I was thinking about him yesterday, and the reason why
Why?
I know.
Of all the people.
Well,
He
the reason
disappeared,
why
didn't he? Like all of a sudden just disappeared. I don't know what the heck happened to
I
him.
don't know. I think he went to age 104 or something. The reason why I say I think about him a lot is because of his one tagline. I know I'm a weird guy. Whatever. Um, he said, the reason why I still smoke at 100 and whatever, if I let go of, my doctor asked me why I won't quit. And he said, if I let go of every bad habit, I'll fall down. So that
Yeah.
was the one bad habit that he helped. And the reason why I was thinking of George yesterday, not you, George, but George
Yeah.
Bird, I was thinking, well, I've let go of every bad habit as far as like alcohol and
Yeah.
coffee. I'm sure I have other habits. I'm not claiming to be perfect, but
Oh
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, I kind of held on to that as like, yeah, you can't let everything go. And then now I'm sort of here and I'm like, oh, I don't know, just made me think about that.
Yeah. I've
But
never heard that before. I never heard him say that.
it was probably on some Tonight Show back in the 90s or sometime, but he lived for a long time. But like you said, with, if it's a couple shots of whiskey a day that might help parasites and him
Yeah.
smoking, maybe it didn't harm him. I don't know. I can
Yeah.
tell you my wife's grandmother, she is, I think, 105,
Hmm.
maybe 106.
Yeah.
Relatively good health. I don't think she has any habits like that, but it's just amazing the different genetics of people and how long some people can live and others can't.
Yeah.
It does really make me think, though, about the stress we might put on in our lives and how that can help or hurt us.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's interesting. All right, 2 shots of whiskey. Are you gonna decide to
No.
start drinking and kill your parasites?
No.
Yeah.
No. I use the other things that are available.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
The
I
things they're
even
pushing for over the counter now.
right. No, I get it. I get it. Um, what else did you want to come up with and talk about?
Well, lately I've been seeing a lot of things with ancient structures, which I guess our timing was right with having Marcel on earlier this week because
Yeah.
I'm seeing more and more stuff about ancient structures and things being uncovered. And there's an earthquake somewhere. I wish I would have taken notes, but I wasn't prepared for this. But there's a place where there was an earthquake, and it's like some of the dirt shifted on the
Yeah.
ground and revealed the roof of a building, an ancient
Wow.
building. And it's like, okay, how much of the stuff is buried under there,
Right.
all over the world that we don't see? I'm seeing a lot more of that stuff pop up. I'm seeing a lot more disclosure of tech in very weird ways. So, like the White House had a post the other day
I
that was
saw
talking
that.
about manipulating space and time. And I was like, okay, here we go. Hope everyone's
Right.
ready to believe all this stuff because it's on the White House webpage. There's
Right.
so much stuff even on the White House website that if you go and look, you'd be like, what world are we living in? Like the conspiracies, or let's just say the things that we figured out that everyone else will figure out later. They're not
Right.
conspiracies; they're going to figure it out later for themselves. Now they're popping up.
Well, and I wonder when we see those things like, and I saw that White House press release
Mhm.
too about how something about this didn't stop in the 70s, and we
Mhm.
have things that can manipulate space
And
and time. Like
traveling to anywhere on the planet in an hour or less, like that's a tip off too.
right. So all of that, I fully am like, okay, and
Yeah, yeah,
like I get it. I don't know if and when we'll ever actually see that publicly, but that's wonderful that they're saying that. But
Yeah.
I guess I ask, what's the reason for that? Like, what's
Yeah.
the reason for putting that on the website? Is it a shit test for us to kind
And
of
they're
like pay
just being
attention?
nonchalant. Also, like they'll
Right,
casually say things like it's no
right,
big deal, and then people are like, "Wait a minute, you just told us essentially that either like portals are real or
right.
hyperspeed travel is, or whatever it is, you know."
Yeah,
And I suspect the 1 hour thing, it could be the underground tunnels that we know with the
mm,
trains and everything, high speed trains. I
it
mean,
could
I
be.
would imagine it's possible to get anywhere in under an hour with a.
Well, I would think so. And if you have, I mean, I'm no expert at this, but if you have 0 point energy,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to travel, and your body's not going to turn to goo because you're manipulating space time, or
Right.
I don't know, you're actually removing the time element of it to a certain extent,
But
and
I
you're just
understand
there.
it's like you're making a bubble that's you're encapsulating everything in a bubble, so to speak, and you're moving everything else around. So
Right.
that basically you're not feeling any G forces or anything because you're not
Yep.
really moving. It's like you're moving everything else. It's
That's,
the best way to explain it, which doesn't make sense for a lot of people to think we're moving everything else, but that's basically how it is. One
yeah.
way of they that they explain it anyway.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't take much for me to wrap my head around that
Yeah.
because um, learning what I've learned, at least around space and time, like everything can be, manipulated and managed. Those are just, opposing forces, if you will.
Yeah.
So makes sense to me. But I also probably haven't thought in 3D for a while. So even though we can be here
Yeah.
and yeah, yes, this desk is wood, but I don't tend to think of it. So I wanted to. This brings up a point I want to ask you. I think. I have friends that will share sort of disclosure things and things about like the stock market and things
Yeah.
about, there's disclosure about a certain event. I think the last one that I saw was some additional things that might roll out about 9/11, and we know about JFK, and part of me really doesn't um, have much interest in trying to share like a disclaimer thing on our show here. Not because I don't care and I don't think people will be affected, but I don't know that it'll help much
Yeah.
than what they're already might be seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If people see this and they reach out to you or I and say, I'd really like you to share with us, but I don't know that it's gonna. I don't see a benefit as much as it just being sort of just more static, if you will. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read this book, but I'll ask you: have you ever read the Kabbalion?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
I hadn't
I,
even heard of it until you told me about it. I don't know, a few days ago or in the past week.
okay, and I think I probably mentioned that I had a lot of signs about it, and
Mhm.
and I didn't read the book, and I have too many stacks of books to read now, so
Yeah.
I just watched a video from Robert Edward Grant and Aubrey. I can't remember Aubrey's last name. At any rate, I got the gist of it and sort of the seven
Hmm.
um, sort of pieces of it that I kind of got from it, which is Thoth,
Yeah.
Hermetics, things like that. But the take home message that I had going back to like disclosure is that the more you focus on something, the more you bring that into light. So if I were to focus on like child trafficking and the
Yeah.
travesties of it and only be focused in on that, I'll
Hmm.
bring more of that out, if you will. I'm probably not describing it very much, but what I'm thinking is you and I focusing on higher vibrations, which we are, and
Hmm.
anyone that comes on the show, we want to go in that route. That's
Yeah.
bringing that more into focus as opposed to trying to look at just dark and just that.
Yeah. I wanted
And
to say on that note, real quick, if I can interrupt you, that
yeah,
there's so us focusing on the higher vibrations is good. A lot of times, what people are doing is they're looking at all this negative stuff. So all the disclosure of okay, the powerful rich people did all these bad things, right?
right.
Okay, you start focusing on that and you're like, oh, well, who else did what? And, what are they doing over there? And what's going on? And then you're just all consumed with all these negative things that are going on everywhere. And then it's like you're bringing yourself into a lower vibration, what you
Yep.
said. But I mean, yeah, people are going to learn some of these things. And I think it's just a natural process of learning the things that are making you angry and realizing
Right.
what was going on, then you have to really turn and move quickly to the positive vibrations, raise your frequency higher. You can't dwell in there too long.
I
And
agree.
then once you get to a certain point, I'd say probably you and I are at those points where we can look at that, and not that we're indifferent to it, but we're like, okay, we're viewing it as this is a scene down here on this
Yeah.
planet, almost like a Truman Show type thing. It is all just part of a show. It's part of a movie. All the world's a stage, right?
Right.
And you have to look at it like you're an observer. You're not living in that movie on that stage play, dealing with all the bad things. You have to remove yourself and understand, okay, yeah, there were bad things, there were good things, whatever. Don't get sucked into it. Pull
Right.
yourself out, observe it, look at what the next path is, be ready for what needs to be done to make things better. You don't have to go and shoot any pedophiles. You don't need to go and report anybody to police. You don't
Yeah.
need to get involved in it. You can help better by raising your vibrations to such a high place that it's just oozing into everyone else and sharing the love and everything. And so it's okay to look at the disclosure stuff, but don't dwell in on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're completely right. Because I'll watch certain disclosure things, and I'll watch for a period of time, and then if it's got a positive message in it, I'll stay a little longer. If it doesn't, I'll educate myself and I'll kind of move on.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you and I talked much about biofield here on our conversations, our
I don't
own
believe so.
biofields.
No, I think it's been more on X.
Okay, okay. So maybe, well, not maybe. It's going to be something that we'll start talking more. When Jill Woodworth came on and talked with me, we talked about it a little bit, but we'll dig into it further. But for those of you that aren't familiar, it would have been referred to as aura in
Yeah.
your past, which was very, I guess, new age or woo woo or
Mm.
whatever. Your biofield, I believe, is an organ in your body, and it also is outside of your body. It is it's the electricity that your body emits, especially your heart. And so I think, and you and I can back this up with science, but I don't think we need to do that for now. That is a huge thing of why George and I talk about higher vibrations, whatever that vibration is, just something higher from where you're at. That's it. That's all we're wanting to have
I
you
would
think about
explain
for
it so
yourself.
people understand. Like, people know magnets, right? And they've all played with them as kids, and they know you put them. They can be far apart, and then once they get to a certain point, you can tell that they're interacting with each other.
Right.
So just pretend that the aura is almost like our magnetic field in a way.
That's
It's not
right.
magnetic field, but it's like a magnetic field that it extends out. And I had heard that it extends out roughly maybe around 5-ish 6 feet.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to remember. Like sometimes people say, "Oh, I was in a crowd and I got this weird, bad, and easy feeling about something, and I left."
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you're feeling the bad energy from somebody or somebody's around you, and you have to calculate 6 feet out. Like, well, who would it be? But
Yeah.
yeah, like that's what it is. We feel that it's real.
I agree. Yeah, the 5 or 6 feet I think was depicted from the heart's biofield, 5 to 6 feet out,
Mm.
and I'm trying to think of the organization. I think it's the Heart Math Institute.
Mm.
Is the one that mentioned that. I was talking with Jill, and I've researched this since then. She had thought actually that the biofield was a little bit larger, like maybe 13 or 15 feet for men, and then 16 feet for women, or something like that. I
I
hadn't
wonder if
heard that
it's a
before,
strength
but
thing or a vibration thing. Like maybe it can get there if we're at a high vibration.
maybe. Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, so for those of you who are interested, go ahead and look it up yourself. I'm sure George and I or Joe will join, and we'll talk more about this. But
Well,
um,
yeah.
go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just going to say this will be an ongoing topic that we'll bring up, but I want to mention it to everyone here at the same time that I say I'm not big on just disclosure and trying to rain down truth bombs and upset people. That doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to some of those things. I just want this to be a space, and George, I think you do too, where we can talk about maybe some of those things, but look for what you can do for yourself, looking within yourself, your own biofield, helping other people, all of those things.
Yeah.
Again, I am very resolute that we are all soul safe if we choose to be. If we
Yes.
choose to be soul safe, we are soul safe. That doesn't just mean this is a video game and who cares what happens the next moment. There's a
Yeah.
balance between that, but
Yeah.
that's what I'd like to try just get across to everyone here. Go ahead, George. What were you going to say?
Um, well, I've forgotten that that's okay, but I think what's a bigger deal here is you mentioning the soul safe, and I, people need to understand, and maybe they need a mantra that they say that yes, my soul is safe. It is, up here and it's connected to me down here. But
Right.
really, if something happens to this body here, I'm just gonna pull my
That's right.
whole soul up there, and I'm fine. There's nothing to worry about. But um, that's the thing, is getting people to believe that yes, we're
Right.
safe, and it doesn't matter what happens down here. And it, I mean, it does, right? This is all experience. This is all information gathering for the prime creator, for everybody experience things. But
Yeah.
you do need to understand that yeah, you're so safe, and there's not like really heaven or hell. Like when you die, you're going to go to heaven or you're going to go to hell. It's more, that's a state of being any given day, any given moment. You
Right.
choose what you want to be. So I find the hardest thing when I talk to people about their troubles and what's going on now, and give them hope of, tell them things that are going to be coming, lightly, things that are going to happen, that are going to get better. I usually just say, look, you're going to be doing well. You're going to have more money in the future. You're going to have more joy, like all these things. I'm telling them you're going to have all these things, and you can have them at
Yeah.
any time. But they are so stuck into 3D, the system of how everything works, that they don't see a way out. And even when I'll give them sometimes things that are showing that the system is cracking and falling apart, they
Right.
still don't see it. And I know, because we've all been like, we were all just cattle, we were all just slaves, we were all locked into this mentally, physically, whatever way you want to say.
We were, yeah. And I'm I know you and I will come to a way of trying to explain this. And I feel like this is around, maybe it'll be around episode 222. I'm going to keep saying
Yeah.
it, but it's probably right not now, but I'm ready to say this to you, George,
Yeah.
and to everyone listening. Um, I know it is probably uncomfortable for some of you to think that me having 5 children, that if I left this world in the next minute, that they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that here in 3D world that they would be okay, that their
Yeah.
soul is safe. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's probably hard for some people to hear me say that, because you're like, well, you're really callous. I mean, this is your family. Your
Yeah.
family should be everything. I
Yeah.
don't disagree with that. I'm saying that I am unattached to the outcome of what happens to me in this life or
Mm-hmm.
what happens to them. And that's actually ultimate love, in my opinion. The same ultimate love I have for George. Like, I would love to be able to meet George in person someday. And I believe we will,
Yeah.
whether it's the Egypt trip in 2028 or before that.
Yeah.
But if I don't get to see George, or I don't get to see any of you, I still believe in you and my love for you as
Mm-hmm.
a person and as a human, and that on
Yeah.
the other side of this construct, we're all going to be okay. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
probably, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. That's exactly right. And the way I explain it to people that have played video games, I say, look, it's like when you go on an online game, and there's 50 people playing, and you're all,
Right.
whether if it's a war game, you're all trying to kill each other, right? Or you're all trying to win and do whatever. But at the end of the day, you didn't die when that little character died in the game, right?
No, you
You're
didn't.
still fine, and that's really basically what it's like. I mean, yeah, you're trying to win the game, you're trying to do whatever in the game that you want to do, and maybe someone killed your character before you got a chance to do it, but
Right.
that's you are still fine. You are
Yeah.
still the one that's in control, and you'll be in control of something else, or just your true self, instead of just this body that we're in. There's just a meat suit, there's just a meat suit.
I,
It's not who we are. We're piloting it remotely, like a remote control car or something. Like, it's not, it's just the ultimate VR, right? This is the ultimate VR.
you took the words out of my mouth, because kids nowadays at least can probably understand, because they've got these VR headsets and
Yeah.
whatever. I refuse to. I put one on a couple times, but I
Yeah,
was like, ah, this
they're
isn't for
fine,
me.
but I haven't done it in a while.
Right. But, just thinking of me from either alcohol or coffee, which probably less so than fasting, like, this really helped me kind of step outside of my body and kind of look at it like, I don't know that I anticipated feeling this great almost 3 days into not eating. Like I knew it was possible, but
Mhm.
I thought it would be harder. That's a
Was Yeah, it was easier, right, than you thought.
It was a lot easier than
It
I
is
thought.
always easier than you think. Like, when I've done it a few times, it was like, this is easy.
Right.
I thought it might be hard, but it
Day
was easier, and people are afraid to do it. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. Do it as
Right.
long as you can. If the first time you do it is 12 hours, 16, 20, whatever, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Then stop, do whatever, eat a day for a day or two, and then try again. Like,
Yeah.
just, it's amazing. I wish everyone would try it. I don't do it often enough, but
Yeah.
it's nice. Yeah.
Even the kind of partial fat, if I say partial, like if you go 8 or 10 or 12 hours, like I feel good after that too. But yeah, I'd like to continue talking about it here. Again,
Hmm.
I'm my
Yeah.
own healthcare advocate. Everyone should make their own decision.
Yeah.
But I've really liked the results here of how I feel in general. But yeah, getting back to, the 3D and the meat suit and this being just a wonderful, VR headset. I I want to try to see other people's points that I guess that freaks them out too much. And they're like, well, then does anything even matter? And I would still say yes.
I think it shows you it matters more. I would
I
argue.
I completely agree. I'm so totally not shocked that that's how you feel, George, because your intention and your look, I believe each of us is the universe experiencing themselves.
Mhm.
Full stop. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God is in all of us, which I call source
You're Prime
creator.
Creator. I'm Prime Creator. We are all.
Correct. That's
That's
right.
all that exists is Prime Creator everywhere.
Right. And we're all experiencing ourselves. And what I think is most important is not the end game, because home is home. Like we're
Yeah.
going back to our destination, or if we choose to go to a different life or a different planet, then great. Some of you might believe that. Some of you don't. I do. Um, but in all that context, we're just the intent and the purpose of what your journey is, not the end point. I
Mhm.
think that's what matters. And that might be hard for some people to say. You mean it's just having good intentions and just enjoying the journey and caring about each other? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I really think it's that
The
simple. I
saying of
really
the
do.
just, when they're like, it's just this or it's just that, it's like, what more do you want? Like,
Right.
look at everything. Look at the grass, look at the birds, look at the trees. I mean,
Right.
like, is that not amazing? Like, what do you mean it's just this? Like,
That's right.
and think about someone that is so ungrateful and like not
Right.
appreciative and not like really experiencing everything. It's like, really? It's just this?
I was reading something the other day, or maybe listening to something, and they asked the question about God. They're like, well, why would, and I think it was someone under hypnosis. I think it was
Mhm.
Robert Edward Grant.
Yeah.
And she asked him, she's like, okay, so you're saying that God created all of us and God is the one, source. And so then he just duplicated himself, he or she, whatever
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want, duplicate himself into all of us and the trees and the planets and everything. Everything is God. It's one source. So was God alone? Yes. Well, why did he do this? He was bored. He
Yeah.
was bored and he wanted to. How can you experience yourself if you can't see a mirror? So he had to create another one of him and another one.
Mhm.
And I'm probably butchering the definition, but it kind of remains to be true. If we're all experiencing ourselves as a collective consciousness of God and prime creator,
Yeah.
it's pretty damn beautiful, in my opinion.
You brought up a lot of things. You brought up the mirror, which, it in a metaphorical sense, is about looking at yourself and trying to understand what you really look like,
Yeah.
or who you are. Um, but then you brought up the part of, okay, well, maybe Prime Creator was bored, right? And what do we all do here? We're all always creating things. We're all doing things, right?
Right.
I mean, why does someone make a video game that's like a whole virtual world for people to spend significant hours in, as almost like a second life,
Right.
you know? And there even was a game called Second Life, and they tried to make it as realistic as possible. And I'm like, why the hell would you want a copy of your life, in another form that's a game? It's
Right.
like, I want to play something fantastical, not duplicate the real world unless there's a reason for it. But it's yeah, people often complicate things way more than they need to be.
Right.
They don't need to be that complex. Is what I'm saying. Like,
I
why
agree.
can't it just be, this is a simple system, the way it works, and you can generate complexities out of it? One thing I saw, I think it was like maybe 5 years ago, they were showing, they were analyzing bird flight, and you know how you see the birds flying, they're doing all these weird patterns, like schools
Yeah.
of fish too, right? They're all traveling in all these different ways, and they're like, how the heck are they flying in these patterns and keeping it together and like just following each other and doing what they need to do? If I
I
remember
agree.
correctly, someone wrote a very short algorithm. I think it was only 3 lines of code or 6 or 7 lines of code.
Yeah.
And with just that few lines of code, they were able to have a computer completely recreate how birds fly with
Wow.
its own simulated flocks. And it's like, how much simpler do things need to be? 3 to 7 lines of code
Yeah.
that replicate that complexity that you're seeing. Everything is based on simple algorithms, simple processes that are just exploded out bigger, and they form complex things. And people think, no, this is too hard. This is very complicated. And it's like, no, it's not. If you would understand the underlying systems of how simple
Right.
everything is, it
Well,
is
and that's
elegant.
right. Exactly. It's the beautiful, gorgeous simplicity of that code that makes it so wonderful. And you're right. We all, myself included, we want to overcomplicate things, and
Mhm.
it's hard for someone to probably hear like, "What do you mean I'm just supposed to love everyone? What do you mean by that?" And
Yeah,
it's probably hard to grasp, but we're going to
yeah,
get there. I mean,
yeah.
you talked about like, if someone's bored spending time. I mean, just think of you and I, George, and the amount of time we spend talking to each other.
Mhm.
And it's great if other people get to see it or look for a couple
Mhm.
minutes. If they find something from it, wonderful. And if they want to move on, that's great. If they want to stay, that's wonderful too.
Mhm.
But you and I, this feels very fulfilling to me. Some
Yeah.
people might be like, oh, I don't know what you guys talk about, all day and all these topics. That's not how I think this, feels at all. Um,
No, yeah, it's like I remember I had a best friend I met in middle school, and we were pretty close through high school as well. But um, we would him and then we picked up another friend, so it was the three of us, and the three of us would sit and talk and just go cruising, do talking about stuff, whatever. And it's no different than that. I feel like
yeah,
if we had a mic
right.
and a camera or whatever, right, and we're just
I
talking about
totally get
whatever
it.
interests us. I mean, I don't even feel like this is much of a show. Like, it's not a production, right? We're sitting down talking
Right.
about things that everyone is wondering about and may have questions about, and it's just a fun, interesting thing. It gets us to think about other things.
I agree. Well, especially in the different guests that we get, the opportunity to talk
Mhm.
to. Like Marcel this week was really great. I
Mhm.
appreciate you
Yeah.
reaching out to him, and those type of topics are going to be really good. And I think the way you and I and other people do too. I'm not saying
Mhm.
just listen to us. Listen to
Oh
whoever
no,
you
no,
want to.
yeah, it's a
Um,
collective.
yeah, I would just say that the more each of us can listen to someone frame things positively, and that doesn't mean ignore it, but just and it's not spinning it out of and it's not false. It's just look at things in a more positive direction. I believe that inspires everyone, including myself, to start thinking about things in a better light. I have had amazing breakthroughs for me even in the past couple of weeks of my own private life of just being more positive. And I thought I was more positive before, and now I'm actually being it much more.
Mhm.
It is it's incredible how different your feeling can be internally when you're just more positive and you actually believe that you're more positive, not you're just saying it, not you're just like faking it till you make
Yeah,
it. It's pretty amazing. So but
I,
yes,
I I see that as like you get two feelings, right? Out of that, you get a feeling of detachment from the outcomes or the processes that are going that
exactly.
are irrelevant, but
Yep.
then you also feel even more connected, which is weird. Like people say, "How can you be detached and connected?" Well, you're detached from the bad stuff and connected to the overall outlook that everything is going to be great, everyone is going to be happy
Yeah.
and healthy, that wants to be right, and there is going to be a good outcome, and really you're choosing the outcome that you want for yourself, ultimately, right? You can't choose it for anybody else, but you can choose it
Yeah.
for yourself. So yeah, detachment and hyperconnectivity, I feel, are the two things that people would say are at odds, but that's what I feel. I feel detachment. I see a lot of these stories of things going on. Oh, there was a mass shooting here, or there was this and that. And first of all, in today's age, I don't know if it's even real with AI, and we
Right.
know there's been fake news for a very long time. So I from all sides, right? But no matter who you follow, and so I'm detached from it. I see it. It's like, oh, okay, that's bad, but it's like not as bad as it would have been 20 years ago when I wasn't out
Right.
of this, you know, level one. When, now, when I wasn't out of this matrix that I was in, where I was buying all of that, I was believing all of
Right.
it. So now it's like I see something. It's like, okay, that's a bad story. Is it real? I don't know. It doesn't affect me. Ultimately, there's going to be a good outcome, and maybe this is a bad story that's real or fake to
Right.
get people to a point where they're needing whatever they need to experience. I don't know. I
I
mean,
no no I
yeah,
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And, some people might find that hard to believe. Well, why doesn't your heart go out for them? Yes, if it is true, and if I can believe what's on the TV, or I've lived it directly so I know it, that's not disputing any of that. I will say one thing I think you're bringing up, George, is a great but probably hard topic too. Whenever there's something light, there's also something dark. That balance within the universe and within all of us is always going to be there.
mm-hmm.
So things aren't going to be really, really wonderful without still some pockets of darkness somewhere. You can't really appreciate light unless you know
Mm-hmm.
what the dark is. So
Yeah,
there's got to be a contrast to it. So what I believe is that while yes, I believe the future is incredibly bright for those that choose that, and we
mm-hmm.
can talk more about as time goes on how
Yeah,
choosing that is, but it's about higher vibrations. There's still going to be some darkness around. And
yeah,
just back to like the Kabbalion piece that I've been sort of spinning on for a while. The more you pay attention to the light, light begets light. The more you talk about it's going to be awful, this is going to be hard, this is good, you're going to attract whichever one it is. Whichever way
yeah,
you think it's going to be, you're right.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll bring up a subject or an idea on that of how even maybe sometimes things that we're told are dark might not even be dark. It might just be a matter of fact, but they're making you afraid of something, right? So there's the Chicken Little, right, where Chicken Little's saying the sky's falling or whatever, and it's like, okay, what does the sky falling even mean? And what is it, like clouds coming down to make fog or what? And yeah, maybe you would view that as a bad thing, but maybe it's not a bad thing.
Right.
But forever I always heard 666 was bad, right? It's a satanic number, it's this and that. And then I don't know, it was a couple of years ago, I realized, wait a minute, we're carbon based life forms, and there's 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons, right? And I was like, there's 666 right there. They were telling us that we are bad and who we are in our essence. And it's like, well, how can you do anything about that? You're born and you're already
Right.
666 Satanist. It's like, no, that's not reality.
Right.
It was just something that they told us to hate ourselves in a way. If you think about it, it's the ultimate abuse, right? That, oh,
Yep.
666 is bad. I want to have nothing to do with it. Yet we're comprised of carbon atoms, and it's, that like that's how twisted and sick and everything is. And it's like you really have to be open minded and analyze everything. Don't just assume anymore that because
Right.
this is what you were taught, this is what I learned. Try to break free of all those things that you have in you. Just at least look at it, right? Don't immediately shy away from something because you were told it was evil, and don't automatically go to something because you were told it was good either.
Right.
Like, you have to discern for yourselves. You have to start looking at everything. So that's kind of where I come into with the detachment and the hyperconnectivity, because if I detach myself from the belief that 666 is bad, and then I connect myself to what the truth is of it, it's just an element, right? It's carbon.
Yeah. I,
Nothing. There's nothing to fear with it. It's just 3 numbers. It's nothing. Um, it's just so crazy. But there'll be people that are watching this now, and they're gonna be like, "No, that's bad," like,
right.
and it's like,
Yeah. And
okay,
and
just
they,
analyze it. Analyze everything. You don't have to jump in all the way on anything or the other, but you have to start questioning everything. I look for things too, like from my childhood. I go back and look at things over and over, cartoons, movies, video games.
oh,
I'm
yeah.
going through a lot of those things over again because I'm getting so many messages
Right.
from them, playing these old things and watching them again, and just like, oh, now I see what that is. I remember now. and now I'm seeing clearly what is really going on. So um, just question yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
look at everything with fresh eyes. Be a child again. Explore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think fear is a really controlling thing. So when you label something as 666, and even us mentioning it here, maybe, yeah, maybe some people are like, I can't watch them ever again
Yeah,
because now they said that and that they're cursed. Yeah.
yeah,
It, please, listen to what George is saying and just consider it for yourselves. Don't listen to us. Just hear the words and decide if it fits for you. Trusting your own instincts, whether it's you're following your gut, following your heart, whatever it is. I would not choose to follow your mind. I would choose to have that take a back seat.
heart. Yeah,
Your mind is a tenant for your body, meaning it's a wonderful computer up there in your brain. I'm not taking away from that. Follow what's in your heart and in your gut, and just think about how things are from that standpoint. You're going to probably have to slow down. If you're anything like me, my experience is I had to really slow down and feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have the time to get everything done. No, you do. You just don't think you do. So just slow down, take take a bit of time, breathe a little bit, and if something really is the answer for you, it's going to come back up. And I think, George, you and I talked about this, but as far as a universal thing that I believe from Prime Creator, from God, is that if there is a specific message that you need to receive, you will receive it multiple times. Probably not in the way that you expected, and that's okay. They,
yeah,
Prime Creator knows better than we do what things we need to know. We're an embodiment of Prime Creator in this wonderful meat suit that we're in, right? And
yeah,
we're enjoying ourselves, but just those are the kind of things to pay attention to. I know that might sound a little bit more abstract, George, than what maybe some people are ready to hear, but
yeah.
I think you're ultimately right. I mean, there's not. It can just really be that simple. But I think then when it's that simple, people will question, say, "Well, it's got to be more than that." No, I think
Yeah,
it's
and I don't know
okay.
why. Why does it got to be more than that? Why? Says who?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
tell me right now. Who says it has to be
right.
more than that?
I can tell you who might want it to be more complicated than that. People that want to control you, people that
Yeah,
want you to
anyone that
live
can
in fear.
profit or whatever. Like that's
Right.
why. Think about laws, right? And think about contracts. I mean, how many contracts do we click OK to that we don't read, and they're like 20 pages,
Right.
and all you're trying to do is install like maybe Netflix or some crap, right? And it's
Right.
like, why does this super long contract exist? There's probably a lot of legal reasons why it does, and we don't read it, and we just click it, right?
Yep. This makes me think of something, George. I'll share it now. My parents haven't known what I've done for work for probably 15 or 20 years. Like I've tried to
Mhm.
describe it, and they're like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
grew up in a blue collar family,
Hmm.
and so my dad was he's retired now. But my dad was a mechanic for since he was 16. Soul of the earth kind of guy, great
Hmm.
guy. Um, I was trying to describe to him about this company I was working for, and I was describing, well, what do you do for work? Well, I work on projects, and when companies, get a certain size, and then they buy another company in another country, and this, and then they become this big global system, and they have all these separate systems, and you've got to tie all that together in IT. And I kept talking, and of course, I was probably in my late 20s or early 30s, and I was really excited about describing this
Yeah.
thing. And he listened for a while and he said, and he just waited till I was done. And he said, sounds like the company got too big.
Yeah.
And that wasn't actually disheartening to me. It actually
Yeah.
made so much sense. Now I didn't
Yeah.
listen to it and not go to work for that company. I did.
Mhm.
But I will say that he was approaching it from a simplistic perspective of, hey, when you have a small business and you're a couple people or you're 100 people or 500 people, that probably still makes sense with what you're doing. If you get to a point where you're so large that you have to then absorb another company and then embed a culture or subvert a culture, and you
Yeah.
have to have all these different
What's the end
systems.
game there?
Right. So I'm not saying that, global companies shouldn't, if they are doing the right thing, wonderful, knock yourself out.
Mhm.
I'm merely pointing out that sometimes when things are too overcomplicated, they're just too overcomplicated and maybe they shouldn't be done.
I
Like,
think we're getting to the bow for this conversation because what we're seeing now with the tariffs and everything, and we're seeing global international companies starting to crumble because they're being exposed on their ridiculous profits on the
right,
things they were manufacturing in China. And then, like, here's what I've seen. I've seen that there's companies that make these expensive like handbags that they say they're made in Italy and whatever.
Right.
What they're actually doing is flying in Chinese workers to Italy so that they can say they're made in Italy, but it's the exact same people, exact same
Right.
materials that they're using in China.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so you're going to pay, not that I don't know anybody that would pay 50,000 for a handbag, but these people that are millionaires and billionaires are doing that, and they're paying $50,000 for a handbag that you could get probably for $500 in China, right? Or 200
Right.
bucks or whatever. And even like Nike shoes, like they're made like for $10 and they're selling them for 100 or more. And it's just ridiculous. So it's going to become a liability. It already has been. And we're going to start getting back to simplicity, which is funny. Like, yes, everything's going to have to be more simple. We're going to make things here in this country. We're going to have a lot of robots making things, which I know that scares people. But don't worry about
Right.
it. It's going to be fine. It is going
Right.
to be fine.
Right.
Um, like those robots that they're 6-axis robots that you see in manufacturing. That I don't know how much they cost way back when, but now you can own your own for $4,000.
Right.
Like I have things that I own that are more than $4,000. Now I can have my own freaking robot, industrial
Right.
robot, and start doing my own things. Like if I wanted to, like I can have my own little manufacturing in my own backyard in a tiny little building. We're
Right.
going to be more localized. We're going to be more simple. The complexities are basically starting to crumble away,
Yeah.
and it's going to be better life for everybody. And people don't see it. I see it. I see the vision. I see
I see it too.
everything of how it's going to be, and it's going to be amazing. And people don't see it. They're worried about robots and AI, and like I won't say AI is nothing to not be afraid of. I have my reasons why I don't believe
Yeah.
AI is ultimately a bad thing, but simple robots that can be programmed to do tasks. Yeah, I mean, if you can have robots doing things and you don't have to work, like why wouldn't everyone as a society want this?
Yeah, I tend to. I mean, what you're describing, I think, again, assuming that it's sort of a mundane level of
Mhm.
robots and things like
Yeah,
that. I don't view things as a piece of a pie, and once you remove one slice, then there's one less.
yeah,
The universe is infinite, and the same thing I believe about
mhm,
people. Like people will never not have things that they can work on.
yeah.
I don't think that to be gainfully employed is the path forward for the long term. Like I
Not
don't.
40 hours a week or 50 hours a week or
Right.
60 hours a week.
But the amount of heart fire, and you can say brain power too, but I want to keep it away from that just because I
Yeah,
know where everyone is up in their own heads. Your heart fire and you caring for people and your creativity, those are huge things that will never be replaced. God
yeah,
created us in that image, again, a reflection of himself, if you want to say it that way.
mhm,
um, those opportunities don't conclude. I just don't believe that. I just firmly don't believe that. And I know a lot of people feel like, okay, you mentioned George about AI and all these other things, and oh,
mhm,
they're all, you know, they're out to get us, and we're all being
mhm.
controlled, and they're spraying things on us and all that. Those things may all be true in whatever part, but I choose not to focus just on those travesties because I want to choose to focus on the positive.
Yeah, how come the
Not
outcome be good from this? Like, other than doom and gloom.
what's that?
I say, how can the outcome be better than just focusing on doom and gloom?
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just quit and say, "Oh, this is too hard," whatever. There's too many wonderful things that people can find, and that George and I would like you and I to continue helping people, which is what we're doing here.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's other things that I want to dive into. I know we're about at an hour, so we'll probably conclude this, but
Mhm.
there are some things I kind of want to go further with you and probably others on too.
Mhm.
Not just about biofield, but things like mudras, hand position, things
Yeah.
like that with meditation. We won't necessarily need to do that all the time. And I'm just
Mhm.
spitballing this. We'll, like you said, our production value is what it is here.
Yeah.
We'll just continue having this be a conversation. But I'd love to kind of hear from you, George, as to some of the experiences you might have with that, because I'd like to dig into that
Okay.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
lot to talk about in the future.
We do. Yeah. It's It's been really amazing spending time with you, George, and getting to know you more than I thought I knew you before.
Yeah, same here.
And yeah. And for everyone, who watches this or watches some of them, I know the episodes are kind of all over the board. So hopefully we title them well enough that you can tell which ones you want to choose and
Yeah,
not. We don't, I don't personally expect you to watch every single one of them. I've really enjoyed making them, and I know George, you have too. So
yeah,
we'll do more of the same. If anyone does have anything they'd like us to talk about, feel free to reach out to either of us, either on X or however you can, whatever platform you see this on.
yeah,
And that's all I got, I think, for this one. How about you, George? Do you
yeah.
have
Me
anything?
too. I'm good. That's a good finale.
Okay. All right, brother. I love you.
All right, love you,
Appreciate
brother.
you. All right.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
you
Goodbye,
too.
everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.